Hi, and welcome to this quick tutorial. Today I'll show you how to use the AGRRA Caribbean Disease and Bleach Watch data form. This is an open access platform with a visual map to help track conditions of reefs in the Caribbean, especially focusing on stony coral tissue loss disease and bleach watch data. One of the great features of this survey is that it's linked to a dynamic map, and you can see your results right away. You're highly encouraged to add photos as it helps other users and the AGRRA team have an even better picture of the reef you surveyed. The instructions for this form are also available in Spanish. You can access the PDF by clicking here. Along with this form, I'll need my data sheet. I have mine here in Excel and I'll put it next to my window so you can follow along. This is a 3-part survey requesting site and surveyor information, coral health data entry, and additional information and photos. Section 1, Site and Surveyor Information, helps us to understand more about the surveyor and the survey site, as in the field you see differences in disease and bleaching based on reef type and location. Fill in one form per site. If you surveyed the same site on different dates, use a new form and enter a new date. Required fields are marked by red asterisks, meaning you must enter this information to submit the form. We need your first and last name and an email address. Enter the date and time as month, day, year. Each of these has a drop-down menu from which you make a selection. Next, enter the site location. This is important because it gives us the mapping function. There are 2 fields for lat and long. Normally, it's accepted in decimal degrees. But if you have your location in a different format, click this icon to see other options. In the end, the map function will convert everything to decimal degrees. If you want to manually choose your location, that's an option too. Click this button to expand, and click these buttons to zoom. Try to be as precise as possible. Next, enter the reef name if applicable. Many reefs have local names, and having a record of these will always be helpful to align with historical data or local publications that might refer to them in this way. If the site has an AGRRA code, enter it here. This helps us to link your data to the baseline information. Is the site within an MPA? If yes, click here to get a drop-down box and enter its name. Is restoration conducted at this site? Choose the appropriate option here. Now, reef type. If you know the type of reef you're on, go ahead and click it. If it's not listed here, you can click Other, which gives you a drop-down menu for you to enter it. For example, if you were on a wall, you can enter Wall. But my survey happened on a patch reef, so I will select this option to proceed. For average depth, we ask that you enter in meters. But in observations near the end of the form, you can always add if you surveyed a range of depths, for example, from 5 to 30 meters. Always record the temperature in Celsius. Now, we're at Section 2, Coral Health Data Entry. This part of the form uses the 4-letter species code, and since my datasheet uses those as well, I'll refer to each species by this code for the rest of the walkthrough. In this first section, we should check all that apply. Just a quick scan of my datasheet, I see quite a few colonies with no bleaching or disease, like this one. But I also saw a few colonies with SCTLD, bleaching, and other diseases, so I will click every option here. Now we start entering data. This form works if you're recording presence-absence or if you're documenting presence-absence along with counts. This form groups data by species, and we've listed most of them here. You do have a chance at the end to record any species not listed here. I quickly sort my data sheet by species in alphabetical order as arranged here in the survey. I can also tell you won't need size, and we will come back to mortality, so I'll go ahead and hide these columns for now. In this section, you can only select one option. So for each species, you select the least favorable condition you saw, not just the most common. If all colonies were healthy, like we see here with A10, click the first option. If you saw a few healthy colonies, but there were a few with SCTLD, like these two, choose SCTLD. Same goes if you saw some healthy and some bleached, like we see in D-Lab. Choose bleaching. If you saw healthy colonies along with a few diseased and bleached, like we see here in the CNAT example, you would choose the last option, SCTLD and bleaching. Whatever observation you select here creates a customized data entry table just below. So I'll keep adding individual species and their conditions. We will enter numbers after this. Just note, there are asterisks next to a few species here, and this notes their susceptibility to SCTLD. Those with 3 are known to be the most susceptible. Now to add numbers, we refer to our spreadsheet. We can scroll down to part B, where our customized data sheet has been created. We see a list here of only the species we selected above. The menu drops down by clicking here. This allows you to enter specific survey information. Let's start with CNAT. I have 13. The first question asks, how many are healthy, showing no signs of bleaching or disease? Based on my sheet, I enter 2. Colonies with only SCTLD but no bleaching, I have 3. Colonies with other disease, I have a colony here with black band disease. I also saw 2 fully bleached colonies, 1 partially bleached colony, and 3 pale. I enter 0 here since I saw no colonies with SCTLD that were also fully bleached, 1 for colonies with SCTLD that were partially bleached, and 0 for colonies with SCTLD that were pale. There were no recently dead full colonies, so I enter 0 here. A 0 means we saw none. Leaving it blank means we did not collect this information. Remember, 0 is still data. I've completed entering my CNAT, and since it doesn't tally for you, it would always be wise to take a quick check and make sure it all adds up. I counted 13 earlier, so quickly, let's look over the numbers before we move ahead. I can collapse this section now that I know it's right, so it isn't as bulky. Let's do another example with D cell. I only saw 1 and it was healthy. That's actually really great news. Since earlier I indicated I only saw healthy colonies, that's all it's gonna ask. All I have to do is enter 1 and I'm done. Now, for the last example of this walkthrough, we will do D-Lab. I saw 5, 2 fully healthy, 2 bleached, and 1 recently fully dead colony. I keep entering my data here to complete the form with all species I recorded. There's only one instance where I saw a colony not listed here, and that was an SRAD, so I can enter that here. You're at the end of this section of the form. Always remember to quickly double check what you've entered before you move on. Now, on to this last section, additional information and photos. First, enter the protocol you followed, which in my case is bar drop. Recent mortality you can record here. If no, click no and proceed to the next question. If yes, a drop-down menu will ask you a few more questions. What percentage of corals had recent mortality? I'll quickly sort my column to show that 12 out of my 200 corals had recent mortality, which is 6%. I did not collect transitional mortality, so I will leave this field blank. There were 30 colonies with old mortality, which equates 15% of colonies surveyed at this site. I choose quantitative survey here since I counted colonies in my survey. But for those of you who reported mortality but didn't tally, you can choose qualitative observation. This is the observation box where you can note any additional observations. I will enter black band disease here. The last option is to enter photos, and you can choose up to 5. It would be helpful if the file names included the photographer, the site name, and the species in the photo. After uploading, you're all set, and you can click Submit. Remember, if you surveyed multiple sites, you will need to repeat the process for each site. This concludes our quick tutorial. We'd like to thank you for sharing your data because it helps our collective understanding of Caribbean reefs and our ability to protect them. If you have any questions on the survey form or data platform, contact us at AGRRA at info@agrra.org. AGRRA.org.